Oops. This is a, whoops. I don't quite know why I bought this. Maybe just because I thought I could get it for not very much, which turned out to be the case. Externally, this watch looks well used. And as we'll discover, although the movement looks pretty tidy, it will throw up at least one of the major faults that are common to these movements, compounded, at least in terms of the process, by a very silly mistake on my part. The top pusher is sticky, so that's now stuck in. There's a decent amount of resistance when you set the hands, which suggests the canyon pinion's in fine fettle. And look, it's just turning over the calendar, and that's just past midnight, so that all looks fine. Quick set on these watches is operated by pushing in the crown. So you push it in half a push to advance the date, and a full push to advance the day. Let's just see if that subdial hand, that ticks over nicely at the 12, but it looks alright, doesn't it? Let's take a look at the movement. Hold the rotor still with my finger, and that's held in place by, or rather this holds the two pushers. There we go. Oops. The gasket is toast. I think I felt the resistance then as it started slipping. That's almost certainly a full wind. Let's pop it on the timegrapher and see how it's looking. This is with the chrono running. Slow, low amplitude, a reasonably substantial beat error. Okay, let's get this movement out of the case. I'd say that dial is beautiful. I think there might be a little mark on the subdial, just there perhaps. I can't tell whether that's just a flaw in the original finish or whether that's a mark from a previous watchmaker. That was loose. What else was that? There we go. Question is, where did it go? Ah, here we are. Mission accomplished. When we're working on this side of the movement, we need to take care to avoid damaging the post from the subdial wheel, which is just here. I don't know if you can see that. You'll notice there are some plastic parts, but this was made in 1974. Here we are in 2023 and it's still working. Oops. I think I'll take out the Diashock on this side as well while we're at it, before we forget. Okay, let's take off that spring. I think probably the next thing we need to do is to remove these two springs, and then we can take out the hammer and the two levers. This is a hell of a lot easier to take out than to put back in that spring. Just get rid of the hammer. And then this one we have to be a little bit careful with. We don't want to damage the delicate center chronograph wheel. There we go. Okay, breathe a sigh of relief. And I think we'll take out these two levers here. They're secured in two places. This one pivots around here. That one pivots around this eccentric screw here, and they're both held in position with the screw at the bottom there. And there we go. And that one could just move out of the way, and then we'll just okay, good. Have to remember we've still got a full wind of power in the mainspring, so we need to let that off, which maybe we'll do now. Okay, that was relatively painless. That was on very tight. Makes me wonder whether it's been off before. See a little bit of oil around the bearing here. Okay, let's take off this little plate. And so we expose the gear train. Let's take out that precious center chronograph wheel. Yeah, you see a fair bit of molybdenum grease caked around the barrel hole there. Escape wheel. And before we take out the centre wheel bridge, I'm going to take the cannon pinion off on the other side. And that's the movement, or at least all of the train, completely stripped. It's just the setting parts we need to finish on the other side. Let's have a go at this Diafix setting, shall we? Well, that was relatively straightforward. It doesn't look to me as though this has been out before. The spring looks to be in very good condition. So we'll just retrieve the capsule and job done. Okay, we have a problem with the mainspring. You can see that it's some way out of being flat, and there's no real way of correcting this, and so I think we're going to have to use a substitute mainspring when it comes to refitting. It has been my habit to start the cleaning process by putting the parts into an ultrasonic cleaner for about 10 minutes before transferring the basket into the watch cleaning machine. The machine that I use is an Indian clone of an Elmer Super Elite, and I've been using this for several years and to very good effect. It's a robust, functional machine. Before fitting the mainspring, we need to lubricate the barrel, and I'm using 8217 braking grease on the walls of the barrel. You'll notice that the mainspring that I'm fitting to the barrel is a replacement. It's a generic replacement, this one coming from General Resorts. And there we are, it's in. Again, you can see that I've fitted the arbor, and so all that remains to do is to lubricate the top pivot of the arbor. centre wheel. I'm about to make a very silly mistake. Those of you who are familiar with the architecture of the 6139 will have spotted already the mistake that I've made. But I'm going to let this roll as an educational exercise for myself as well as for anybody that might be viewing this. You might find it amusing to anticipate the point at which I realise the mistake that I've made. I'm not there yet, clearly. I'm including all of this just to illustrate the process, regardless of the fact that I'm going to have to undo pretty much all of this shortly. So let's start to reassemble the gear train, starting with the barrel. I've already lubricated the top and bottom parts of the arbor. Then escape wheel next. Just a bit of. Then the third wheel. The chronograph wheel. I've lubricated the shaft at its base, and I'm just going to put a spot of 9010. And then we cap that off with the bridge. Okay, I think all of those pivots are engaged. Time for the coupling levers, starting with the second coupling lever that locates around this eccentric screw. And then the first lever. Then the screw to secure the first coupling lever, and then there's a screw that's the holding a screw for the two coupling levers. Then the ratchet wheel. The objective here is to hook the other end around the post over here on the start-stop lever. You may detect a slight sigh of relief here, but we're not out of the wood yet, because we have to fit the hammer and its spring, which can be an absolute bugger. Before we do that, we need to fit the minute recording wheel. About there. Okay, I've done it. The intermediate wheel has a long side and a short side to its pivot, and the long side goes down. There we go. I'm just going to put a little bit of lubrication on the post on the hammer here. Well, have any of you spotted the mistake I've made? If you look here, you can see this lever is 180 degrees out of position. So I'm going to have to take everything off and refit the hammer, which I'm not going to do on camera. Okay, we're back. You can see that this is now the right way round, and the result of that is that this spring is now correctly located on the post on the hammer. But in order to achieve that, I had to strip this all the way back to, in fact, I had to remove the castle wheel, because you can't rotate this around with the castle wheel in place, and you can't remove the castle wheel without removing the first coupling lever. So I had to strip it all the way back down to the first coupling lever. I managed to leave the second in its spring in position when I did that, but that involved pretty much undoing everything that I've done up to this point beyond the second coupling lever. This does highlight how much more difficult this whole operation is when you're trying to record it using video. That's not an excuse. Well, it is an excuse, actually. It is an excuse. This is so much harder when you're trying to do this all underneath a suspended mirrorless camera. We are in the chronograph running position now, and so when we tease the barrel, you can see the chronograph wheel running freely. Yeah. And now, when we rotate, when we tease the barrel, we should see the chronograph wheel held stationary, but you can see beneath that, you can see the fourth wheel still spinning. And that's because the levers, which you can see here and here, have moved inboard, and they've lifted the clutch. They've detached the top part of the chrono wheel from the bottom part. And if we depress the start-stop lever once more, you should see those two levers come apart. And now the clutch spring brings the top and bottom half of the chrono wheel into position, and now the chrono wheel will run in its running position. There we go. So on with the cannon pinion. Okay, so next we're going to oil the date driving wheel platform just around here. But because this is the B variant of the 6139, the intermediate date driving wheel that goes there, and the parts that sit on top of the date driving wheel are all plastic, and so the only part that we need to lubricate is this, just around this platform here. Doesn't matter how you position this, just as long as it sits flat. There we go. And then the day finger, which is also plastic, sits on top so that the open part accommodates the little nubbin here sitting on top of the date finger. Now this is another one of those slightly tricky operations. Partially screw this down first. Yeah, that was relatively straightforward. And then I think I'm going to use a bit of the blue gunk on the little post. There we go. About there. You can see that the finger is clear and free, and so we can go ahead and tighten the date dial guard down. This would be about midnight. You can see there we go. There we go. And let's just check the quick set. Which goes in something like this. This is starting to come together. And just when you think you're over the finish line, at 15 seconds, the chronograph is 6/100ths of a second fast. At 45 seconds though, it's 1/4 of a second fast, and that's starting to feel like it's venturing outside any kind of window of uncertainty. At 7 minutes and 30 seconds though, it's clear. The chrono is running about 2.5 seconds fast, and that means that the clutch is slipping and I need a new chronograph wheel. Some detective work and a little cunning, and 2 weeks later I have a new old stock centre chrono wheel for a 6139B. A little tarnished and in need of some adjustment, but it'll do the job and it's going to rescue this restoration. Okay, the chapter ring goes in first, and the gasket, almost there. It's a slightly unusual profile to this crystal. You can see it's got a marked lip around the inner circumference here. And when we fit the bezel, we'll position it with this cutout here. You can see there's some damage to the lip of the case where this has been reprised out. You should be able to see that the crystal is sitting evenly. The extent to which it protrudes left and right is the same when viewing from either the 6 or the 12 position or from the 3 or 9.